problems. One of the problems we've had is one side of Capitol Hill is invested in failure, and that makes, I think, the kind of iterative process of fixing glitches as they come up and fine-tuning the law more challenging. But I'm optimistic that we can get it fixed.
Back down to our top story tonight, the president blaming Republicans for the rocky rollout of healthcare.gov just 1 week after he came out saying that was on him, that he was taking the blame. Joining me now, Brit Hume, our Fox News senior political analyst. So less than a week after he comes out and tries to do a mea culpa, Brit, saying, I'll take it, that's on me, this one's fair, he's pointing the finger at Republicans.
Well, I guess he's saying they won't help fix it, but this is a reflex of his. It's what he does. And I can't imagine that this is going to get him anywhere, because this is so clearly the creation of him and his party. Republicans literally had no buy-in, not a single vote in favor of this program. It's a little unreasonable at this stage to expect them to, step in and pull the Democrats and the president's chestnuts out of the fire, if they could even do it, given the continuing deterioration that we find in the morning headlines nearly every morning. So I think this is foolish on his part to say things like that, but I think he can't help himself.
Well, but I asked Steyerwalt about this earlier. Is this some sort of a narrative? I mean, we had Zeke Emanuel on the show last week trying to blame Fox News. And so now, after sort of coming out in the initial heat of the moment, being a little humble, I'm sorry. Well, initially he was denying that there was a problem. But then once it reached, sort of critical mass, he said, all right, I'm sorry, it was my fault. And now it's turned around, and he went on. We played you just the shortened version, but he went on and on about the Republicans when you listen to him in full. So is this going to be the new offense?
I doubt it, Megan. And if it is, it's a very big mistake, because it's palpably not true. Obviously they haven't helped to make a program in which they are, to which they are totally opposed. Whose whole intellectual and ideological underpinnings are abhorrent to Republicans. It's crazy to think that, and totally unreasonable to think that they should be the ones who are going to kind of come in and help him patch it up around the edges. It is true they're invested in its failure because they don't believe it can succeed, so they want it to go away as fast as possible. And they've tried repeatedly to repeal it. They're against it. It shouldn't be news to the president that the opposition sometimes opposes. It's what they do. It's why they're called the opposition.
But what about that? Because some of the critics of the Republicans are now coming out and saying, once again, well, what's your plan? I mean, they had offered some plans when we were debating Obamacare.
Yes, they did.
And they didn't go anywhere.
Obviously. No, they didn't. They were not. No,
they had a democratically controlled Senate, House, and White House at the time. But
it is an article of faith among Democrats and many liberals that the president really tried to work with Republicans on this. And he listened to their ideas, and after all, this whole idea of an individual mandate originally came from a conservative think tank back some years ago, and therefore they should have some buy-in. But it's really not true. They wanted tort reform. He didn't want any part of that. They wanted a national market instead of a series of state markets for insurance to be sold on a national basis across state lines. He didn't want that either. So there are plenty of...
But my question is bigger than that, because it's now that Obamacare is having such troubles, do the Republicans face some political risk in not offering a solution to somehow fix what's broken with it and do something other than say, let's watch it collapse?
Not yet, but soon. And there will come a point, we're in this phase now where we're seeing this thing seemingly crumbling. I keep thinking, Megan, I'm going to wake up some morning and there won't be any more news stories about the problems in health care reform, but it hasn't happened yet. And as long as this thing is in this phase, Republicans don't need to be standing by with a fix. But there will come a time when people are in trouble, without policies, worried, and they're going to look for somebody who can fix it for them. And they're going to measure the Republicans as an alternative in part by whether they'll have something. And now, you had Senator Johnson on tonight. He was talking about something else tonight, but he's got a measure to try to fix this question of people keeping their health insurance policies and so on. So Republicans have some ideas. They're okay for now. At some point, however, there will come a day when they're going to need to come forward with a comprehensive plan and so on. And at that point, of course, they're going to be subject to the kinds of attacks that they've made on Obamacare, because anything that deals with anything this big is going to be disruptive in some way.
Quick question before I let you go. Does anyone care that the president didn't go to the Gettysburg Address, or is that a non-issue?
I think this is something that the world will little note no longer remember, to borrow a phrase. You know, if you
Not
don't
that he
like
didn't go to the
Obama,
Gettysburg Address. He wasn't around for that.
well, I know, but yeah, he wasn't. But I suspect he remembers the phrase and hopes it's true.
All right, Britt. Thank you.